Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Community. This is a special one. So I don't normally put out 3 a week. I don't know. I think the team would be fine, but I think I would lose some steam. But this week, I really wanted to put one out because I'm recording this in advance. But this week, I'm at PodFest, which is an amazing, like the largest podcasting conference. And I was selected to speak, which I was so freaking honored. It was totally one of those things where I put in a application, not even thinking I would be selected, and it turned out to be absolutely amazing. And I was just so grateful. And what I'm talking about at this event is something I think all podcasters should know about, but I know there are so many topics going on at the same time. And folks back home, maybe people listening, you guys couldn't be at the session, and I didn't want you guys to miss out. So I wanted to basically go over the overview of like really my session, go into a little bit more detail on a few things than I could in the session. And this way, you can benefit from it if you were there. But if you weren't there, this is something you can learn from. And my topic is hosting live podcast events as a way to grow your podcast, and just a little bit of background here. So this is an idea I did not come up with. So I'm not pretending I am the OG of live podcast events. This is something I have seen people in my network do, or saw people in my network do, especially in the US, and was kind of like, oh, that's so freaking cool. I wonder if there would be an appetite for this. So slowly I started running a few of these podcast events. Me and my friend Jeanette, we did one in Toronto probably like 2 years ago almost. And then now we've embedded these live podcasts into High Vibe Women in 2 different ways. And why I'm obsessed with that is because podcasting events are such a great way for people to get a sense and familiarity of who you are and what you do. And so what I'll say is a few things. So when I say podcast events, I'm not like talking about like a podcast conference. What I'm talking about is a live podcast recording that you do with a guest, ideally a guest, because I think it'd be a lot to just do it by yourself. A guest, and you invite an audience to watch you, and you could bring kind of your community in. They get to be part of it, and it's a great way for you to connect with like fans of your show. And so if you have a small podcast, like, and you're like, who listens to my podcast? I have no idea. I totally get it. I kind of felt like that the first time we did it too. I was a little like, who's going to come to this? Like, I'm like I always call myself, you guys know this, I call myself a little chicken nugget in the air fryer. I'll never really know what's going on. And so I wasn't sure if anyone would come, and we've had people come consistently. And then I've also used my events, High Vibe Women, me and Maria's events, to amplify my podcast in other ways and actually help other hosts do the same. So what I'm going to say is, in planning something like this, you could use an event planner. We typically haven't. We have an amazing one we love, but we like to keep them pretty low key. So if you've been to one of our High Vibe Women events, we go hard. There's a massive swag bag. We've got speakers coming from all over the world. We have like lots and lots happening, which I am obsessed with and I love. But these are meant to be kind of chiller events. One of my mentor friends, Lori Harder, and her friend Lindsay, they do these, and like it's in a podcast studio, and there's wine, and that's kind of it, and some seating. Right? It can look however you want it to look. What I love to do with that is really think about a topic that really would resonate with my audience. And so that's where I start is like, what is a topic that really resonates? So maybe it's about community, maybe it's about entrepreneurship, maybe it's about AI, maybe there's something cool happening. Maybe there is, the next piece is a guest who is an expert on something, and I really want to have them on the podcast, but it could be a cool conversation to have with other people. So you think about a really good topic that would lure people kind of into it. I love to use a guest because it's twofold. One, I don't like to just have conversations by myself. Like my solo episodes, if you listen to the pod, they're short. They're small. I would not need an hour to talk about anything. But 2, it's also a great opportunity for you to borrow the audience of your guests, which we already know from podcasting digitally. But podcasting in person has the same feeling. You're inviting people into, your community, and then it's kind of vice versa where you're both getting to connect with each other. And so I would choose a guest that is going to promote it. So that's a big thing, is that often a lot of times people will, do business, and they'll I'm trying to think of the right word. Like they'll be invited to many, many speaking opportunities, and that's awesome, but they might not promote the events that they go to. And then that misses the opportunity for like you really benefiting from their audience other than their name. I see this all the time with High Vibe Women, and it's something I always take note of, is speakers who do not promote. And why I say that, I'm not, a little tangent, but we run an event for 200 women called High Vibe Women. We do it twice a year, and then we run pop-up events. I always remember when speakers don't promote, and they are always the speakers who come back and ask to speak, and it's usually a no for me because they're not willing to be part of the full ecosystem of the event. So what I do is I try to find someone with a good topic who would really be a collaborator and not just somebody who is going to just like put something up. The next is finding a space. And so this one can be win-win in a lot of ways, and it depends how much you're willing to invest in it. This can be the most costly piece other than if you were to do food or something like that. I have been very fortunate that I have been able to find spaces for either free or very inexpensive when running events like this because of our social media. So we've been able to be like, hey, we would love to run a podcasting event here, bringing 30 entrepreneurs in. They don't have to be big. You can have 20 people, depends on what the feeling is. And I might ask for a discount in exchange for content or posting on my social. And usually it works in some capacity. So I love that. I love that we're able to get people kind of all together. And it's a win-win for the location. I would never do it if I didn't think it was a win-win for the location, right? We do a ton of videography and photography. We're content creators. So I really make sure. So I find a spot that would be excited to host us. The other thing is maybe I might find food and beverage partners. So either take it from a sponsorship perspective of like, you can do it and sponsor the event. That could even look like, hey, the deliverables on that would be 10 podcast ads on my show or something like that. Different ways you can be kind of creative, but you could get sponsored food. You could ask for food at cost. You can want, like I've done it where we've really highlighted local brands and had people do food at these events. So that's been really great. So that has been really helpful. And so when we advertise, then we're also really, really advertising these brands that we're working with, and even just having other names associated with what you're doing. There is a level of excitement that is around that, right? Like people are like, okay, yeah, I'm excited to be a part of that. When you're advertising, you like some little things that you can do that we found really helpful. One, you could make like a mashup reel of your podcast, of the guest, whatever that looks like, and use a tool called ManyChat to try to generate some excitement. So that's the tool where you'll see on social, on Instagram in particular, people write like comment podcast. And then if it's comment podcast and they do it, they get a link to sign up for the live podcast recording. So you want to use creative tools to advertise. And one of the things I always recommend is when you're promoting something like this, you want to be selling from a place of like building hype and excitement, right? You're excited about it. So, showing up in your stories and talking about it is huge. Something I love to do is I love to screenshot ticket sales and say, hey, without people's names, being like, hey, we are selling tickets, because nobody wants to be the first person to buy something. So you want to build that hype and that FOMO that people are purchasing. So when you're advertising it, you really want to be building from that space of like, hey, this is exciting. We want you to be part of the conversation. That is a big piece. The other piece is making sure that it's not just a podcast recording. You're going to want to do some other things as well. So, for example, some other things that come to mind. You could do like a networking activity. You could have some kind of activation. You could have like a mingle hour. You could have some kind of game, depending on the type of podcast you have. There's lots of different stuff that you can do. It just has to have some kind of component to it that isn't just listening to you talk. People, unless it's like a long thing, 2 or 3 hours, and there's an audience Q&A. I love that. I love an audience Q&A component of it. But really, you want to make sure there's some structure to the evening. You want to make it feel a little bit like a mini event. We do this even with High Vibe Women. High Vibe Women, actually, we embed 3 live podcasts at the same time in the breakout rooms. So people can pop into the live podcast and listen, but then they go out and then they have a networking activity, and it's not just only live podcasts. So you want to make that part of what it is you're doing, is thinking about an activity. I would also encourage you to have someone else who's in charge. So if you're the host of the podcast, like having someone that's welcoming people, having somebody that's, making sure drinks are refilled, making sure food is good, whatever it is. So you're not like completely in charge. And even thinking about that, like while you're recording, you want to be all in on the conversation. The other thing I'm going to say as well is that depending on what your budget is for this, and I know everybody's budget's a bit different, you want to make sure that you are collecting social content, especially if this is something you want to do more than once. I will tell you the first time, you run an event or almost do like anything in that space, the tickets would be harder to sell than the second time or the third time, right? We see this in our business all the time. The first High Vibe Women lunch we had, I think we had 12 people there. The second one, 30. Now, our events, we have 200 people, 180 to 200 people come. It's easier and easier to sell tickets. We actually sell tickets typically without even announcing speakers now. That wasn't the case before. So people want to be part of what it is that you're building, but, you have to show them a little bit. So what I would recommend is pricing it low the first time and then growing the price from there, even if you just break even the first time. And you can always get sponsors and things like that too. It depends on your kind of savviness with it. Like some people have never had sponsors or don't know how to collect sponsorships. So that's not like the first thing they would think of. But you could get local sponsors, people like in your community who would want to be in front of this group of people. So maybe they're a local insurance company if it's a business podcast. If your podcast is for realtors, could you get a mortgage broker involved? Who could you get involved on a live podcast event? The next thing is social content. So you want to see, even if you can get a content creator that you pay hourly to come do the content, even if you could do cheap iPhone quality like content, you could record with little of those $20 Amazon mics, whatever, because then you could use that on your podcast later and build hype. But then with the social content, you want to show the FOMO, right? So you want people to see what's happening and be like, wow, like I can't believe I missed that. Can't wait to be the next one. I can't wait to be at the next one. We love it so much. We've had such a good experience, and we want to be there. So I would say really building that social content is huge. And the last thing is making sure that you are building the next one up. So you don't have to have your next one planned, but having the space to be like, okay, I am looking for my next thing, whether that be a bigger event, whether it be speaking at another event, whether it be listening to my podcast. Like you always want to have a call to action. And so you want to be talking about that during. You want to send an email after. Like you want to be nurturing your audience, getting people to take photos. Maybe you have a cute backdrop. Like you want to be building an experience. So it's not just like, hey, come listen to me talk, but it's like the full experience of what it is that you want people to see. You want people to, like, maybe there's swag. Like maybe there is like a little item you give everybody. Like these are your diehard people who are going to be listening week to week to week, who are going to be really excited about what you're doing. And so just wanted to share that. This is kind of just like a small little overview of kind of some of the stuff that I got to talk about at PodFest this past week. And obviously, I really would love you to run your own live podcast events. And any questions you have, feel free to reach out. We've done them larger scale. We've done them smaller scale. We've run them for other people, like lots and lots of options. But I just think that this is one of the best ways to be growing your podcast because you'll see you do it. Other people are curious about you. They go and they download your podcast. So almost every time I have seen one of our people do this in the High Vibe Women community, or I've seen people do this, like even us, I see a huge resurgence of their podcast. There's like a huge bump in what they're doing. People are more and more excited about it, and they're in the top charts. It's like clockwork. So give it a try. Let me know how it goes. And if we didn't get a chance to meet at PodFest and you were there, feel free to connect. I'm always so excited to find other podcasters who are doing cool stuff. And make sure to listen to this podcast because we give a lot of tools and resources to help you grow your podcast. We doubled our downloads this year, which we always share. No gatekeeping here. And we've got an awesome resource for how to promote your podcast on social media. So I'll leave the freebie in the show notes. But yeah, would love to stay connected and good luck with your podcast event.